Welcome to Hindsight. I'm your host Dennis Taye Allen, and this is KVTV News. Hindsight is a 30-day look back at all the news that mattered to you most. This is Trinidad and Tobago, but we're part of the world, so we will talk about some of the local news and also take a look at some of the big, wide-breaking news stories in the international arena. So, take a look at some of these ads of all the shows that are coming up on KVTV, and we'll be right back with Hindsight.
We're basically introducing lionfish and bake to Trinidad and Tobago. We caught some lionfish in Tobago, brought it over to Trinidad, had it prepared, and Richard has now agreed to
It's not about growing to love somebody. It's either it's there or not. We went on our first date and it hasn't ended yet.
It's really nice to feel this. This is really special.
And trust me, the talk is juicy. The three personalities together and the fourth surprise person. Talk is going to be juicy.
So, hope you take a click and take a look at some of those other big stuff that's going on KVTV. But this is Hindsight. What we want to start off with is the biggest thing that happened in Trinidad and Tobago in the last few weeks. Trinidad and Tobago Carnival. As you may know, or maybe you don't know, Carnival is a huge festival that usually takes place around February, March in Trinidad, and also parts of Tobago as well. But it's a bacchanal. And when we look back, we start to see things in hindsight. We talked about the decency. Carnival. Is Carnival indecent? I wonder. Carnival has a historical context. There are two carnivals in Trinidad and Tobago. There's the Uptown Mass and there's the Downtown, what they call the Jamet Mass. And right now what we've seen is the confluence of these two threads making a lot of noise after the Mass. What is the Carnival? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? For me, Carnival is an opportunity to let go. For a lot of people, and they spend a lot of money, Carnival is big business. Carnival is also, for a lot of other people, an opportunity to take that 2 days before Lent, because this is a Catholic country in the historical context. Those 2 days before Lent, Carnival, farewell to flesh, is the moment where Trinidadians let go. It's a catharsis. It's a freedom of our expression. But people start to take things extreme. They start to go into town with very little clothes on. But isn't that the Mass? Isn't that what Mass is about? Mass is about art, but it's you playing the art. And what if the art is a bikini? What if the art is a foot of feathers strapped very close to your genitalia? Is that something that we need to legislate against? It seems as though those in power seem to think that they need to. Can you legislate personal taste? Now, of course, there are laws against decency, morality, and they can tell you, well, this is indecent. But how can we tell people how to play the Mass? This is really where I think, in my own opinion, that we need to draw the line. What is the Mass? Is the Mass about the Carnival being the beads and the feathers, or is the Mass about what was 20 years ago? We can't say that the Mass 20 years ago is more important than the Mass now. Right now, we all have to make choices. How we wine, where we go, is it the downtown? Are we afraid of there? Or are we going to go west of Port of Spain? Are we going into the Soca-drome? These are economic decisions. You play your Mass and you pay to play. Me, I jump in the band. But there are other people who do neither. They don't play Mass. They don't go into Port of Spain to play Mass. So they don't go and watch the Mass. But they want to come and use their positions of authority to tell you what to do. Is that fair? Why don't you put into your comments what you think about the Mass? There are a couple other things coming up, so don't go anywhere. This is Hindsight. This is KVTV News, and this is Hindsight. Last week in the news, there was talk about a young doctor up at the Mount Hope Medical Sciences Maternity Hospital that during the performance of a C-section operation, cut open the head of the fetus. In the news, this has been bandied about as malpractice. It begged the question of what was he doing. We don't have those answers. However, we have to ask this question. If I make a mistake while doing this show, Eric, my producer and director, he would edit it out. And he would make me look good. If you're selling at a KFC outlet and you make a mistake, perhaps a wing falls on the ground, what happens? Throw it in the bin. But what if you're a doctor or a nurse or any kind of medical professional? What happens when you make a mistake? We in this national community in Trinidad, we've gotten accustomed to the saying, Trinidad nice, just don't get sick. How many times a day are C-sections performed all across our country? There are medical outlets, there are public health facilities, there's the health centers. We have to ask ourselves, what are we paying for? Because when you pay your taxes, we pay doctors. What are we paying for? Are we getting what we're paying for? I'm not sure if this woman and her family got service. But let's ask ourselves this. When you go to a hospital, what do you expect? When you go to a maternity hospital, do you expect that this child that you've spent 9 months carrying in your womb, 9 months of expectation, anticipation, and excitement, thinking about the next 18 to 20 years of parenting, of waking up in the morning and feeding and rolling over and getting that child, little Johnny or little Phoebe, to school. Do you think that, you know what, I'm not going to leave with my bundle of joy? I have to challenge the medical community in Trinidad and Tobago. Examine what took place at Mount Hope and ask yourself, was this the best service that we could have delivered to that young family? And if your answer is yes, then I am sorry for you. Because in my opinion, I don't think that was the best service for this family. And if it wasn't good enough for her, it's not good enough for any of us. So that's my question about what took place at Mount Hope. It's in the news. You can go online, you can go and visit it. And there was another person, another television broadcaster that published images of this severed head. Well, it's not severed head, but lacerated head that led to the death of this young child. Well, fetus. So you can go out there and dig it up and find it for yourself. It won't be on this video, but it's something to think about because it happened here in Trinidad. Something that did not happen here in Trinidad, but very close, is what's going on in Venezuela. It started in Caracas several weeks ago, perhaps about 6 weeks ago, with young students, university students, complaining and protesting about what's going on in their organization, in their community. And it spread into a national context where the opposition starts to challenge the Venezuelan government about its policies and its economics. I ask myself, how do you blame a government for lines around a grocery? How do you blame a government for shortages of toilet paper? How do you blame a government that is sitting on one of the largest resources of not just oil, not just natural gas, but iron, aluminum, humans? There are 25 million Venezuelans, the largest landmass aside from Brazil. And why are they having problems? Why is the economy in such a state? I ask myself this, and I challenge any Venezuelan who is opposing the government to put it to me and explain it to me in very simple words. What is their fault? Is Maduro, the president, such an incompetent leader that he does not know how to manage the economy? Was Chavez such an incompetent leader? What is it that you believe that you will benefit the Venezuelan community by you changing that government? And how do you think that protests will change a government? Perhaps you're taking notes from what is going on in Ukraine. In Ukraine, in a very similar timeline, 3 or 4 months of protests by anti-government elements have changed the government. They removed a legally, democratically elected government and replaced them with someone who said that that former president, former leader of government is a war criminal. He committed acts of crimes against their population. So we ask ourselves, okay, what if he did? Are you going to, by referendum, say, you know what, get him out of here? This is what is taking place over in Ukraine. And now we want to bring this back into our context. How far are we from that level of distrust of our government? How far are we from that level of uncomfortableness with our economic reality in Trinidad and Tobago? Do we now ask ourselves, where I getting money for groceries? Where I getting money for gas next week? How I going to feed my children? Do we blame our government for that? Or perhaps we don't blame them enough? Who knows? But this is what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago and the wider world. And that's why you watch Hindsight. Remember, just click like, click subscribe, and spread it around. Share it to your friends. We had this week another incident down at the Hyatt waterfront where Hilton workers took to the streets in protest. And we have Charmaine down there, feet on the ground, right there for KVTV News. So Charmaine, over to you.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm your host, Charmaine Bardo, here at the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, where earlier this afternoon stood employees protesting who seek to grasp the attention of the Honorable Prime Minister to address the current matter at the Hilton Trinidad. We understand that a number of 60 of the hotel's employees have been dismissed from their jobs since the end of Carnival last week. Management has seen it fit to send 60 of its non-permanent staff home for a period of 3 months without any notice and without any reason and without a salary. The departments targeted are that of the kitchen departments, stewarding departments, housekeeping, and the linen departments. All these people are out of a job at this very moment. The letters they've received do not state that these employees on the break of service will be reinstated. This unionized hotel has been protesting since 4th of March till this very morning, March 14th. Whilst protesting, employees were removed by security from the compound on the instruction by the management. The management of the Hilton Hotel tells its workers who are still employed at their respective departments that they too will be notified for their letters of leave very soon. And now it's back to you, Dennis, at KVTV Studios.
Well, thank you, Charmaine. So that's what's going on with the Hilton workers. And I want to take a quick look at what's going on in sports in Trinidad and Tobago. Last week, the Milo primary school games had started, and all those great generations, next generations of Trinidad and Tobago track and field athletes took to the field, and no one was there to see. We need to figure out, are we sports fans, or are we fans of when Trinidadians win something at the Olympics or at the Worlds? In 2012, we had Keyshawn Walcott, and last year we had J. Hugh Gordon, and they made us all proud. But they will both tell you that when they compete in Trinidad, all you hear are crickets. It's time we, as Trinis and Tobagonians, started to support our own from small. Let it not just be the mommies and the daddies, and the coaches in the stands. Cook some pilau, make a roti, go down and see someone playing sports, because they do make us proud. So, with that, I want to thank everyone for viewing. If you like it, you don't like it, say something about it. Also, you can check out my show on Wii Sports every Tuesday night from 8 p.m. And I also have a Grassworks channel, GRASWORX, right here on YouTube. So you will find me, you'll see me with the big afro. Right here, I'll be commenting. Anybody says anything, I'll be there. And I also have a Twitter account you can take a look at TT Game Plan. And Metro Magazine, yeah, it's the real thing. Metro Magazine's every Friday in your Guardian. You can look for my Sportline column where I talk about the bottom line in sports. So thanks for watching. This was Hindsight. This is KVTV News.
Children getting rash, people have diarrhea, plenty people falling sick. They haven't done anything for us in the area.
And one of the vegetarian workers tell me, go and take the bird and hide it. I just laugh and walk off now.
It's a little disturbing that the birds are not flying away from us.
Today we are at the Carnival Swamp, a wetland of international importance under the Ramsar Convention. Join us today as we show you the beauty and the wonders of the Carnival Swamp.
Passing through, it's Christmas. We there, we have ham, sorrel, we drinking, we eating, we liking ourselves.
Right, for all those who don't know, I'm a Muslim. And no, I don't have that.